Good morning from here in San Juan del Sur, Nicaragua. This is my final stop in the country before heading to Costa Rica. I thought today I would kind of give some thoughts overall on my experiences through Nicaragua over the past month, and some advice on some places to go in Nicaragua, and just an overall reflection on the past month. I just dropped off some laundry here at Gabby's Laundry. I'm actually heading out tomorrow to Liberia, Costa Rica, so I wanted to get a fresh start, so to speak, with my laundry. And so I thought first, this morning, I'm going to go and get some breakfast. The municipal market is literally, well, it's just right here, and there's a bunch of restaurants inside that have some really good deals on breakfast, so let's head in there. So when you come into the market, there's a half a dozen or so different restaurants here, and they're all pretty well the same. Like, they all have standard breakfasts and stuff. So we're just going to go to one here at random and try it out. So I've just stopped here at Commodore Nohemi and just ordered some scrambled eggs, and they come with chorizo and gallo pinto, which is like the rice and beans mixture that you see everywhere in Nicaragua, and then it also comes with cheese and some tortilla, and I ordered a coffee to go with it. So here's what about $3 gets you for breakfast in the center market here in San Juan del Sur. I got eggs with chorizo, scrambled eggs. There's the gallo pinto, comes with some tortilla, some cheese, fresh lime, a piece of avocado that might be the biggest avocado I've ever seen, and a bit of plantain, and then I also got a coffee with milk. And let's dig in, because this looks really good and I am really hungry. This breakfast is delicious. So I just made my way down here to the beach here in San Juan del Sur, which is the main attraction for this town, and just thought it'd be a nice spot to come down and talk about Nicaragua as a whole, my experiences overall, and some of my recommendations if you do come to the country. So as a whole, I mean, I was here in Nicaragua now for almost a month in total. I never strayed ultimately too far from the Pacific side. I had talked to myself, I guess, about going into the Corn Islands, which is over on the Atlantic Caribbean side. But really the only two options were about 20 hours of overland travel or a flight that was continuously sold out. It felt like weeks in advance. So it's just a small plane that only held like 8 to 10 people at a time. So for me, it was too far out of the way. I would love to come back and do it again. But overall, the rest of my trip, starting up in León and then continuing down through Managua and Granada, and then over to Laguna de Apoyo and the amazing Ometepe Island in Lake Nicaragua, has been a wonderful experience. I think that Nicaragua struggles with a lot of things. It is the poorest country in the region. So Nicaragua can be a bit of a mixed bag. I think there's a lot of tourists and expats who are here. Some stay for extended periods of time and often do border runs back and forth with Costa Rica. But then there's also a very large percentage of the population here that is very poor and struggling greatly just to make a go of it. No more so than here in San Juan del Sur, I would say. I've definitely seen more homeless and panhandlers, those types of things here than in most other places that I've been in Nicaragua. But then I also see that everywhere, if you look along the beach here, there's all these really nice beachside restaurants, and then you look over here and there's all these really fancy, expensive looking houses and stuff up in the hills. So it's definitely a city of extremes, I guess is the word I'm looking for. To review my time here in Nicaragua, I would say that it started off a little shaky, to be honest. When I arrived from Honduras at the border, it took 3 hours to get through the immigration process. Almost 2 of that was waiting in line. The passport control is slow and is notorious for being slow here in Nicaragua, especially when you're entering. And then as an added bonus to that, obviously having a YouTube channel, they had plenty more questions for me about where I've been, where I'm going, and what I'm doing with the camera in the country. I was brought into a back room, asked plenty of questions about where I'd been, cross-referencing that with my travels that I had shown in my passport, as well as, no doubt, what was on my YouTube channel. But after an hour or so in the back room and some very helpful assistance from another traveler, I was able to get in. León is the capital of the revolution, capital of the FSLN here in the country, even though Managua is the official capital. And you really see it in León with the amount of, government propaganda and those types of things. But some of it was amazing, and some of it was really interesting. For me, the Revolutionary Museum in León is a must-see. It obviously sprung up from a much worse situation here in Nicaragua back in the 50s and 60s. And there was a lot of pride in having been able to take back their country from a dictator and a dictator's family who had controlled the country for decades. So after León, I went to Managua. I was there at a very strange time in that the city was partially locked down for most of the time I was there. It was the anniversary of the revolution, and so like the main downtown areas along the waterfront and stuff was basically all closed off for the majority of the time that I was there. A lot of people choose to kind of skip over Managua when they're in Nicaragua, other than maybe flying into the airport and then taking off for the south. And, there's certainly an argument for that. Many of the things you might want to see in Managua, a lot of them were closed. The Grand Cathedral in the main square that suffered the devastating effects of the earthquake in the 70s is closed to the public. The former presidential palace, which has been converted into the House of the Peoples, is closed to the public. And I have to admit that pretty much everywhere I went in both León and Managua, I did feel a sense that perhaps I was being kept watch a little bit. That maybe every time the camera would come out and I would try and film or try and talk to somebody or whatever, things would get very tense. So I just, I kind of did the best I could with those places, but I'm still glad that I got to see them. I think that everywhere I go, I like to always visit the capital cities and the historical centers to get a better understanding of, where these places came from, not only just where they are today. But once I left Managua and headed to Granada, I felt a cultural shift of sorts in the country, and it continued pretty well all the way south to here. Granada was a much more laid-back colonial-style city. and I felt that it was a little bit easier to, kind of get out and see things and check out the city, and people were, more approachable, and just kind of all of those things. It didn't feel like it had the same amount of tension that León and Managua did, which was nice. Granada was sort of always the more conservative region of the country, whereas León was sort of the far left side. So there was definitely a change there in kind of the political atmosphere as well. And then from there, I kind of hit the 3 big cities in a row, and then from there it became a very relaxing experience the rest of the way. Laguna de Apoyo is I cannot miss. If you are in Nicaragua, figure out a way to get to Laguna de Apoyo and stay there for a few days. It is a little slice of paradise in the middle of the country. It was quiet, it was beautiful, and I can't recommend it enough. The place I stayed at, I would highly recommend. I had no problems there whatsoever. It was just, it was tough to leave, to be honest. But then I did leave, and I went to Ometepe. And Ometepe is sort of ground zero for backpackers and travelers in this country, and with good reason. It is as close to Jurassic Park as you'll find, with the 2 large volcanoes making up 85% of the island, and sitting in the middle of Lake Nicaragua. You're pretty cut off from the rest of the world there. My 3 stops through the island in Moyogalpa, Balgue, and Merida were all incredible. They were distinct as well in some ways, and each one was a bit less developed as I went along. So Moyogalpa is obviously the biggest city on the island. That's where the ferries come into, and everything kind of launches from. But then you get to the other half of the island where Balgue was and where Merida was, and it was just, you could literally forget about the rest of the world. I could have stayed in Merida for weeks, probably, in that little cabin. It was just perfect. And so now here I wrap up my journey through Nicaragua, here in San Juan del Sur, which is obviously the very touristy part of the country, and it feels like the more affluent touristy part of the country. I think that Ometepe was more of a backpacker style place, but this place here is it's where all the big bucks are, for sure. But it's been nice to kind of come here and get on the coast for a couple nights and just relax before my next country of Costa Rica. I'm excited to go back to Costa Rica as well. I was there back in 2011, and I was there for a few weeks when I was working at the time and doing some training there and that kind of stuff. And so I'm looking forward to going back. I think I may even try and retrace some of the adventures I had when I was there in 2011. A coffee tour, Poas volcano, and a few other things. But first stop there will be Liberia, which is sort of the northernmost big city in the country. So can I recommend Nicaragua? Absolutely. I think that a lot of people tend to not come here. As busy as this area is here, and some other popular spots have been, there's not a lot of tourism here. Certainly not to the numbers that you would see in Guatemala or Mexico or other places. And I think that the current political climate here obviously scares some people off. The U.S. has a highest level warning coming to Nicaragua right now, but I felt very safe here. I didn't really have any issues the whole time I was here, apart from the initial border crossing. And so yeah, I had a very good time, and I would certainly recommend it to others. There's lots to do here. There are lots of different parts to the country, so there is something, as the saying goes, there's something for everyone. So it's finally dinner time, and the worst of the heat of the day has finally dropped off, and I thought no better way to end my time here in San Juan del Sur and Nicaragua with a nice dinner overlooking the sunset just down here on the beach. So we're just going to head to a local place and get some food and enjoy the view. Here on my last day in Nicaragua. Good morning. So I'm just about to head out to Costa Rica today, but wanted to give you a quick review of where I've stayed here for the last couple nights in San Juan del Sur. After the last couple weeks, really, of staying in pretty affordable places with lack of air conditioning or hot water, which has been generally fine, I decided to treat myself a little bit this time and splurge on a place with both. So this is the Hotel Tropical and Coliving here in San Juan del Sur, and this was the room that I had here for the last couple nights. You know, a nice queen size bed here, and everything here was super comfortable. Bed was super comfortable. I had a great sleep. Lots of furniture and stuff. Both a ceiling fan and air conditioner there. And then in here was the bathroom with a nice stand-up shower and some good hot water. Another electric shower head, which is fine by me. I'm used to them at this point. And this was a welcome reprieve for sure. So, but then you've got the basic setup here for the bathroom and a nice little storage unit here for luggage and things like that. One of the other things that they have here is an office workspace. It's actually on the same floor. I'm in room number 7 on the 3rd floor. And they also have a workspace area here with about 6 or 8 different seats, I guess, with lots of power hookups and desks and higher back chairs. Actually, let's just go over and have a look. I can show you what I'm talking about. So this is the little workspace I have here. Again, it's got air conditioning and fans and stuff. And, it's just a general little office area, which has been great for working on. And then they also have this outside patio, which is super comfortable. Again, lots of seating and stuff. The ocean is just sort of behind that white building. So you don't really get much of a view of it here, but you're only a couple blocks away. Nice big hammock. And then, there's the rest of the view from up here on the patio. This has been really quiet up here, I have to say. I've been the only person, I think, that's used this space while I've been here. And so for me, that's been great. It's allowed me to get lots of work done and not have a lot of noise. So I'll put the price and information here on the screen. I got these guys through booking.com and thought the price was more than fair for location and the amenities and those types of things here. As I said, it was a little bit more expensive than what I usually pay, but I figured it'd be a nice way to wrap up my time here in Nicaragua after about a month. So overall, no problems. Everything was good. Had great sleep, most importantly, and the location and everything else. San Juan del Sur is not a big place, so pretty much anywhere you go, you're going to be within like 4 or 5 blocks of the ocean anyway. But I felt this was a good place to check out. So that's it. We are finished in Nicaragua after about a month, and it's been a really great experience overall. I really hope you've enjoyed this series of videos from this country. I think that it's one that is less traveled and less featured here on YouTube, so I hope that I've been able to do it justice and show you a little bit of everything here in the country, from all of my different stops from the north to the south. Like I said, my only really regret was I didn't get over to the Atlantic side, over to either the Corn Islands or over to the Mosquito Coast area, but that is a long trek from the majority of Nicaragua, so maybe next time. Overall, I would say if you're considering coming to Nicaragua, it comes with a strong recommendation from me. I would say if you are coming in from Honduras or somewhere north to south, you know, I would even go to León for a few days and then head straight to Granada. So thank you so much for watching. As always, I really appreciate it. If you've liked this video, please leave a like or a comment down below to let me know that you were here. If this is your first time coming across my channel, please hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything, and I really appreciate it. I really treasure all of my subscribers that I do receive, and yeah, it means a lot to me. If you do want to support me further here on YouTube, I have a few different ways you can do that. I have some memberships set up here through YouTube. There's 3 different tiers, starting at just $2.50 US per month. And then there's 2 other tiers above that which come with extra perks, free merchandise, those types of things. If you prefer a one-time donation support, there's a couple links both on the screen here and down below. One for PayPal donations and then one for Bitcoin donations. And lastly, I have a merch store with some t-shirts and hats and other things available for sale. And that can be purchased both through here on YouTube or over on my own website at WanderBeard.com. So that's it. I'm out of here. I'm actually heading to Costa Rica today, and I'm very excited to return to Costa Rica after 14 years. And remember, life is short. Wander. And I'll see you in the next video from Costa Rica.